to Cindy's library. This is Cindy. It's been a minute. Busy Christmas season. We had family over here nearly the whole time. It was a wonderful time. But like I said, busy. So no time for filming, but I did manage to get a fair amount of reading completed before and during. So let's get to it. Well, first of all, I started this last January for Epistolary January, Stillmeadow to Sugarbridge by Gladys Tabor and Barbara Webster, who were two authors living in New England, Pennsylvania and Connecticut, I want to say. Could be wrong about that. But this is a year's worth of letters between the two. And it is so wonderful, just describing their lives and everything going on around them in the natural world and the seasons changing. So glad that I read this one. I did my annual reread of Father Christmas Letters by J.R.R. Tolkien, or Letters from Father Christmas. Yes, starting from when his youngest was probably about 3 or maybe 4. I'm going to say 1923 or thereabouts. Every year, kids would get a letter from Father Christmas all the way up to 1942 or 43 with the last one growing up. And he did not just do letters, although he certainly did do letters. And don't worry, they have the letters typed out, so it's a bit easier to manage, but he drew pictures for them, and such pictures. Such a wonderful thing to read during the Christmas season. And out of this collection, I read My Uncle Peter. And this, I'm needing to remember it. This is George MacDonald's Christmas collection. My Uncle Peter. It is about a boy's, I think he is his uncle, if not his great uncle. Either way, he gets involved with a little girl and ends up taking her in. And of course, his nephew or great nephew becomes great friends with her. And well, very seasonal. I think it is the Christmas season that inspired him to do that in the first place, take her in. Oh, yes, a classic Christmas. This year I read, actually I mostly listened to, but I read The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain by Charles Dickens. This was a very good one. Nothing will beat A Christmas Carol, of course, but we have a man who is haunted by what seems to be a ghost, not quite in the same way as Scrooge, you understand. I mean, he's lived a relatively blameless life compared to Scrooge, but he's had an unhappy life. So he makes this bargain with a ghost, and we get to see what happens with that bargain. Murder at Christmas. Ah, yes. I think there's 10 in here. Something like that. But these are short stories by classic crime writers. We have Marjorie Allingham, Ellis Peters, Dorothy L. Sayers, and a whole host of others. Oh, Rumpel and the Spirit of Christmas. So we have John Mortimer. all of these are festive and most of these are fun. So glad that I read that this year. Oh, and I read The Christmas Mummers by Charlotte Mary Yonge. And yes, this is the only way I could find this one. And I am so glad that I did. Ah, this is the story. Uh, let's see. Let's see here. Not Jeremy. Edmund. Let's see. That is the cousin. It might be Asa. Azaf. Yeah, Azaf feels he has a fair amount to live up to in that name. He's a country boy, and his mother keeps a tight hold on him, which he didn't mind so much when he was younger, but he's growing up now, wants to play with the boys and do what they do, especially cricket. And they come one day to the cricket field and they find a bunch of posh people picnicking there. Well, one thing leads to another, and the posh people get chased off. But a fancy scarf and some money are left behind. Asaph knows nothing about the money, he never even sees it. But the scarf he picks up, and then the people have gone, so he doesn't have a chance to return it, and it weighs on him from that point. And we also get his cousin Edmund. Long story short, he needs to come to the country to recuperate, and he's lived with his aunt and uncle, Asaph's parents, before. And so he kind of gets involved in things too. And it's interesting. You could say this is extremely moral, but at the same time, it shows both sides. The country boys were extremely rude and rather bullying, but it is true that the city people were rather prigs as well, and they were there first. Um, with the mother, yes, she is way over concerned about her son and way too controlling. On the other hand, she's not exactly wrong. And yes, the cousins should get involved in fun that goes awry, and there's nothing wrong with innocent fun. But you do have to keep in mind that innocent fun can so easily go awry, and what may not be a temptation for one could be for another. So I'm so glad I read this. So glad to have another Charlotte Mary Yonge under my belt. Oh, Sherlock Holmes, Holiday Whodunits by Derrick Bellanger. This one is rather fun because I think it's 26 days, so you get Boxing Day too. But what happens is the first half of a mystery is told, for example, December 1st, the first day. Then you can have the rest of the day and however long till you read the next day to try and solve it if you want. And then the second day you read the solution. And very festive, mostly again very fun. Now this book I am only halfway done with. Winter Fire, Christmas with G.K. Chesterton, edited by Ryan Whitaker Smith. So I did the first half of this, which was basically an advent calendar with G.K. Chesterton quotes and then some of the editor's commentary on that quote each day. So next Christmas, hopefully, what we will do is turn to some poems and essays, short stories, recipes, and even games and traditions. It sounds delightful. Oh, and it comes beautifully illustrated as well, with occasional illustrations. Then at the end of the year, I also finished George MacDonald's Diary of an Old Cell, where he basically writes a 7-line poem each day. It also includes his poem The Disciple at the end, and I read that as well. Some beautiful lines in here. Oh, so let's take a look here. Did I get everything? I read A Proper Darcy Christmas by Pamela Aidan. More novella length, but it's Christmas time. Miss Darcy, she is available, and well, let's just say there's a couple gentlemen coming. They show up at Pemberley for this Christmas. That's a good way to put it. They show up at Christmas. Um, let's see. Oh, and to end 2025 and start 2026, I read this third volume of the Chronicles of Christmastime by Diana Wynne Jones. So that's Conrad's Fate and then the Pinhoe Egg. First one, we go back in time a bit to Christopher Chant. He is a teenager now. Well, I should say we are in a world with Conrad and interesting family situation, and he is told by his uncle that he has a horrible fate. He must have done or not done something he should have done in the past life. And so his uncle makes him go out to the manor house and is supposed to find who was supposed to kill in the last life and kill him. Well, things are much more complicated than that. And for various reasons, he ends up encountering a teenaged Christopher Chant, who is rather delightful. And then in the Pinhoe Egg, this is after the events of, oh, what is it called? I'm totally blanking right now. Charmed Life. This is maybe a year or two after Charmed Life. And we get involved with this village where many of the Pinhoe witchy clan live, or they live near there, and it's right under the nose of Crestomancy Castle. And we mostly follow Marianne, who's supposed to be the next gammer of the clan, but the current gammer is acting rather crazy. And well, let's just say village and castle events start intertwining. Another great one. Diana Wynne Jones is an extremely interesting author. She writes fantasy stories that are like fairy tales. They have a happy ending, but there can be some darkness in the middle. There definitely is a bit in both of these. Also read 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hamp again. I first read for Epistolary January. And for Twelfth Night, what do you read for Twelfth Night? By William Shakespeare. This is the story of Viola. She's shipwrecked in this new place, so to protect herself, she disguises herself and enters into the service of uh, uh, Orsino. He is totally in love with the lady Olivia, but she'll have nothing to do with him. So Sarno uses Viola, who disguises herself as Cesario, to send love letters and such to Olivia, and well, let's just say things get out of hand before everything is resolved towards the end. Oh, and I read Silver Slippers by Temple Bailey, my first Temple Bailey. It is a sweet romance written in the 1920s, I want to say. Something like that. It is about a young lady whose name always escapes me. Uh, she was an orphan and she was a teacher for a while. And this is in New England primarily. But her only living relative, a great aunt, realized that this young lady is her only living relative. And so she's invited her over, lavished things on her. It's rumored she's going to be an heiress, made so by her great aunt. And so we get several young men interested in her. And we see what the course of love looks like, which in this case is not smooth for anyone. It has a rather moral Christian tone, which I appreciated. I thought it would just be good, but in the end, it was a level better than good, especially for a romance. Probably won't be the last Temple Bailey that I read. So, what am I currently working on, or what do I currently want to work on? Oh, I am reading James and the Giant Peach for book group. Loving that. A boy named James, he has the most awful aunts, and there ends up being a giant peach and adventures. I am also started West from Home by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Uh, this was the 1915 Panama to Pacific International Exhibition in San Francisco. Laura at the time lived in Missouri, but her daughter Rose lived in San Francisco. So her daughter invited her over to see the exhibition and do all sorts of things. And so she went, and these are all her letters back to Alonzo back in Missouri. So I've been enjoying that. I can't resist. I want to start Emma M. Lyon again. And hopefully we will get more this year. Emma M. Lyon is absolutely delightful. And I can see why some people might not entirely appreciate the romance. But the thing is, with at least one of the guys, I don't think there will ever be a true romance. And as for the other two, one of them, well, there are two that are maybes. But I'm okay with that. And I so want to get started with Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens finally. I started it, then I heard we were going to do Our Mutual Friend, and I did Our Mutual Friend instead for last year. So Dombey and Sons, this is what I want to work on. So I also want to start the John Adams biography by David McCullough. That'll be a reread. want to read lots of American things this year, particularly American history and biography. And seemed like there was something else. Well, I will have to remember it later then, I guess. So, all caught up on reading. I think this Saturday, instead of a regular weekly update, I think what we are going to do is I will talk about the best of 2025 and 2026 reading plans. So I am excited. Sorry for going a bit long today, but a lot to talk about, obviously. I hope your Christmas and New Year's was just as good as mine, and I hope that 2026 is even better than 2025 was for you, and that it is a wonderful reading year for all of us. Thank you so much for stopping by. Truly appreciate it. If you want to comment on any of these books I have read or will read, or your own 2026 plans or favorites from 2025, I'd love to hear it below in the comments. Again, thank you. And so until next time, I hope you all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.